I've been struggling with thinking up how to describe Hyokkori Kyoutan Jima, Nazo no Kaizokusen, and I think the best way I can go is clunky. This is a clunky game. It's got a whole lot of ideas in it, and maybe 1/4 of them work well. I don't think I could describe the game as bad, just not good. Hyokkori Kyoutan Jima was a children's puppet show that aired almost daily in Japan throughout the 1960s. And of the 1,074 episodes they made, 8 still exist. But despite the fact that the show is 99.9% lost media, it had a huge cultural impact on Japan. The theme song is regularly re-recorded, for example. It even turned up in a Studio Ghibli movie. In the early 90s, they started making a new series, and that's what this game is based on. They actually made quite a few games based on it, but only one on the Famicom. The concept behind the show is that, while on a field trip to Kyoutan Jima, the volcano on the island erupts, setting it adrift. And the island winds up accumulating a motley crew of people including a mobster, some pirates, a lion, and whatever else happens to float by. In the game, a derelict pirate ship washes ashore, and the kids decide to explore it, finding it inhabited by ghost pirates. The game alternates between action segments and story segments. In the story segments, you get some long, very long, extremely long exposition on what's going on, and you'll eventually be prompted to make a choice between a few options. You might have to navigate a maze of doors, or pick which tool from the table you'll need for the next action segment. For the action stages, you have to first pick out what character you're going to use, and not all characters are available all the time. Who's there will change as the story progresses. If you have any tools, you can also choose which one to use. And then once you've done that, your goal is to find and open a treasure chest. These stages are played from an overhead view. Yes, I know this one has you climbing the rigging, but it's the only one that's drawn at this perspective. And you can freely move left and right, up and down. Your character choices all have different stats, but the only stat that makes a difference in play is speed. Some characters move very slowly, and some move pretty quick. The rest of the stats don't have any effect on gameplay at all. Most of the stages involve you solving a block-pushing puzzle. There will be spots that have to be occupied, and then a staircase will open up, letting you progress. Or you could push blocks around in order to clear a path to the chest. You hit A to open the chest, and you can do it from any side. The tools that you find as you progress give you some additional options. The boomerang can stun enemies, and you can walk through stunned enemies. The important thing about it, though, is that it can flip wall switches. One problem with trying to use tools against enemies is that you still have to move once in that direction to aim toward them. So you can't really just turn around and hit them. Another tool that you'll get is the gun, and this will turn ghosts into statues that you can push around and use to solve puzzles. You use the tools by pressing the B button, and they always launch in the direction that you're facing. The puzzles here are not so good. Now, in fairness, I only got about 10 puzzles in, and there's around 50 in the game. The ones I played were trivially easy, just spread out over a huge area, so it took forever to do them. If for some reason you manage to get yourself stuck, you can hit select to restart that entire puzzle segment. Not the puzzle, the whole thing from the previous cutscene. And it can take a few minutes to complete a puzzle even if you know the solution, so if you die 3 or 4 puzzles in, you've got a long haul back doing things you've already done before you can make another attempt at the puzzle that you failed at. At least there aren't any lives, you just keep trying until you pass. You do get passwords at certain checkpoints in the game, but those are also few and far between. There is a way that you can freely progress through the action stages. On these, if you hold down up and press B on the second player controller, you just jump to the next story section. Unfortunately, you then have to watch the very long story section to get to the next action section. The only other significant feature in the game are a set of character profiles that you can choose to look at from the main menu. Opinions in Japan on Hyokkori Kyoutan Jima seem to be divided among people who are fans of the show, loving the presentation of the show in the game, and people trying to play the game and hating how it plays. The final puzzle in the game is particularly infamous, since you have to recreate a musical tune that only played once before in the middle of the game. Obviously, I don't think much of playing this one. The puzzles are annoying rather than interesting, brutally punishing if you get anything wrong, and as someone who doesn't have any attachment to the show, the extra long story segments are annoying. It's not the worst game ever. If I was just playing each puzzle on their own, it wouldn't be too bad. But Hyokkori Kyoutan Jima is just a mess of a game, and really not worth getting into.